Hi everyone, I hope you are well. We'll get started. My name's Simon Hare. I'm the MD of Precision Sourcing, and we've got...
I'm Craig Sibley. I head up the technology and data team here at Precision.
So I'm going to give you a brief overview of the total market of Precision Sourcing, covering all the technologies that we work on. And then Craig's going to do a bit of a kind of deep dive within that kind of technology space, and in particular cover off some of the actual data. To give you a bit of background, neither of us are economic experts. The way we put this together, we gather a lot of information that is objective from our systems, and there's a lot of information gathered subjectively from our clients and candidates that we're obviously talking to hundreds of people every month and every quarter. So there's a lot of subjective information we gather, and there's a lot of objective data that we also scrape from the likes of LinkedIn as well, and a number of different reports. So a lot has changed since our last webinar. We've got a naughty new American president who's causing chaos through his tariffs. And we've had an election in Australia. And most importantly, we've seen a slight loosening of the purse strings, with businesses finally starting to increase hiring activity in the tech space. At Precision Sourcing, we experienced a considerable improvement in the market in October of 2024. And we've seen that continue up until now. And we saw an uptick October, November, December of 24. And then when we came back in January 25, we continue to see that increase in hiring activity across all technology markets, which was very much required and needed after a 2022 month downturn. The data shows that, unlike, for example, the GFC, which was a very kind of deep downturn and then bounced back very quickly, what we saw was a downturn that wasn't so deep, but we bounced along in the technology space for like 22 months. So we were relieved to see that come back in October of last year and then continue that momentum into 2025. We've also seen the RBA reduce interest rates slightly, and we thought, like, we were high-fiving when we saw that, and we thought we were in a period of growth until, of course, Mr. Trump started some chaos. The knock-on effect of the tariffs hasn't been felt by us just yet in terms of hiring activity, but we've certainly had some concerning conversations with clients indicating that if things don't settle down, then we should expect some major changes via layoffs and hiring freezes for the rest of 2025. So that's kind of, I wouldn't say it's keeping us asleep at night. We're confident that it'll hopefully, Mr. Trump will calm down and that we'll see some solutions, but there's definitely something kind of at the back of our minds concerning us. The labour market is actually looking strong when you look at the March 25 results. Total employment rose by, I think, just over 32,000, which was well above the monthly rise and average of the last 12 months of nearly 26,000. The participation rate rose back to 67.8% after dropping slightly in February. Australia's vacancies are 45% higher compared to just before COVID lockdowns began. Our vacancies that we're seeing advertised on Seek and whatnot are 45% higher than compared to before the COVID lockdowns began. So that's quite interesting. Between March 22 and March 2025, total employment rose by 1.15 million. Unfortunately, in that period, we didn't, in the technology space, see that and experience that. We got an absolute kicking during that period, as you're all aware of, but we can sleep well knowing that we had an absolute period of like once in a lifetime within the technology space just before that, didn't we, for a couple of years off the COVID boom. So we're now well into Q4, and what we can tell you is this: the momentum of Q3 has continued into this quarter. April, having the holiday period of Anzac and Easter, which does affect things, it certainly hasn't slowed down momentum in the tech space for us. There's certainly cautious optimism for the new financial year, and businesses are deep into finalizing their CapEx spend and budgets for the 26 financial year. There's a number of massive transformations and significant projects that have been put on hold, as you're all aware. And what we're hearing is these have to happen, and it's a when, not an if now. They've been delayed and delayed and delayed, and the signs are positive. If any of you are senior people on this call, you will have definitely felt the knock-on effects of the last couple of years, because those transformations haven't occurred. They've been put on hold, which has meant that people have found it a struggle when in the labour market in those senior positions. And I certainly feel for the people in senior positions because there hasn't been a lot of opportunity. And we're hoping that in this new financial year that you'll start to see more transformations and projects that you can enjoy applying for and hopefully landing those jobs. Donald Trump hasn't helped confidence, but we're still optimistic that we can continue this momentum going into the new financial year. If you've got any questions, maybe just hold off for now because Craig's going to do a bit of a deep dive on the actual individual markets, and then what we'll do is cover off any questions as best we can after this.
Perfect. So I'll just pull up the market report now. So what I'll do is I'll break this down and you'll be able to see this on the, I guess Simon's kind of give an overview there, a lot more detail. So very good overview, Simon. But we'll break it down into this. Basically, we'll look at projects, change, and BAs as a pillar, and then we'll get HCM, DevOps, architecture, integration, and then obviously we'll do that Q&A as well at the end. So okay, what I want to do here is I want to start with the positives, which is predominantly focused around the BA side of things. Now, BA has gone strength to strength. We started to see that tick back up around October, November last year, and it's continued into this year. A lot of what clients are asking for at the moment within my team is around that BA skill set. But what they are looking at is they're focusing less on, I guess, desirable skills and just having a core BA skill set with a specific technology. So that might be ServiceNow or it might be Sitecore, but they're really looking for an expert with this one particular skill in when they're hiring, and whether it's agile or waterfall. We are seeing that kind of be more of an end-to-end skill set as well. So what I mean by that is a BA, they're looking at that kind of medium to senior level that can do everything from inception all the way through in the role as well. So looking at that technical and business capability. They're not looking at, we need a technical BA or we need a business BA. They want someone that is doing both of those skills now. For tech roles specifically, we're almost looking at like your developer level. So someone that's come from a development BA background that's been doing the coding, or a data BA background, like a data modeler that's gone into a technical BA role as well. So that's been an interesting hurdle as well. Projects and change has been, it's still sticky. I'd love to come to one of these, maybe the next one perhaps, where it's a little bit more upbeat on the project management and change management side. I will say in April, the conversations were a lot more positive around FY2026 planning. But as far as an abundance of roles and projects and programs kicking off, it's still very limited from what we're seeing. Obviously, government, that kind of turned its tap off a little bit with the election looming. We should hope that government will start to peak now. Financial services and banking is a very good area at the moment. There's quite a lot happening kind of around your risk, regulatory transformations as well is something that they're focusing on more so around the digital transformation element as well. We're finding that across PMs, change and BAs, we're really struggling at getting that permanent headcount. So organizations are struggling with that element and therefore looking at kind of short-term contracts. So we're getting a lot of, I guess, roles that are coming through that are like maybe 2 months or 3 months, just to utilize and squeeze the remainder of this year's budget with the view to then extend when that new budget and, I guess, financials come through as well. So the appetite for project managers is there, but unfortunately the budget is not. So it's still a bit of a challenging time at the moment, and there's a lot of candidates still in the market. So when there are project management roles advertised or change management roles advertised, the competition that you are up against with those roles is still very, very high. So my recommendation would be there is to partner up with a recruitment agent.
Well,
2 agencies.
that was my...
Sorry, so Simon just had a call mid-webinar. So moving on from, I guess, the overview there, here you can see what skill sets that we're looking at. So ERP BAs is definitely a big focus for a lot of organizations, and that business process side of things as well. The challenge we're getting here is we're looking for ERP BAs, but they want both the technical skills and then being able to do obviously the business facing as well. Across this vertical, we're experiencing that candidates are applying for roles, but they're not getting much feedback. I think that does tie in with the fact that there are so many applications and it is very difficult to actually provide feedback to every single applicant. So don't beat yourself up in the sense that I'm not getting any feedback, it's my profile or things like that. It really isn't. It's just that there's so many, and what clients will typically look to do is they'll go down that list until they get that short list, and then they'll start to schedule interviews with a recruiter. The same applies again. Obviously we do try to get back in touch with everybody, but it is very difficult when you're getting 300 plus applications coming through. So the best thing you can do is just give your recruiter a call and have that conversation there and then as well. On that hiring manager side of things, as I say, that budget and approval constraints is really difficult. The appetite is there, but getting that approved right now is really difficult. And that conversation shifted into we're planning for the new financial year now. This is a new one, if you're a regular, that pops on our webinar each quarter. So we recently hired Joe, who heads up our HCM team. And this is effectively what he looks after. So everything outside of our SAP function. So UKG, Workday, Oracle, and Dayforce. Now, we're actually very confident with HCM as a market, in particular around UKG. So everyone has to be onto UKG Pro. I believe it's by the end of this year. So there's a lot of work going into organizations that are on UKG, moving from Dimensions into Pro. And that has created a little bit of a war for talent there as well. It's a niche, and clients are struggling to find talent now because a lot of other organizations are well underway with that. We've also seen the likes of your councils and potentially some universities, and mainly more, I'd say, in potentially like the government hubs. That Dayforce is something that is now being looked at. That's basically been rebranded from Ceridian, and it's an end-to-end HCM suite. So obviously the only other one there would be Workday. A lot of consultancies have kind of got their hands wrapped around that and needing to be Workday certified. But we're seeing UKG is a big one at the moment, with Dayforce and Oracle as well. But Oracle is proving to be quite challenging. Like, we've had a couple of clients down in Melbourne and Adelaide that are really scraping the barrel in terms of finding that talent as well. So that's been a challenging one. Workday end clients are going to continue to battle that out with consultancies as well for candidates, just due to the market share that Workday have got. And I guess where we're experiencing some challenges in this space is around that UKG piece. These project teams are now predominantly already in place, and people are reluctant to leave a project that's in flight for something that's starting up. And then that, I guess, obviously has meant that the organizations that have not yet kicked off are actually facing some challenges around that space as well. With the hiring manager challenges here, you can see niche technologies are in scarce supply, and interview processes again has been a challenge in this space for a lot of organizations. And you can see here that what I mentioned about BAs before, organizations are doing this with UKG as well. They're looking for the technical and the functional merge, which again is quite difficult. So now we're going to move on to the DevOps, cloud, and site reliability. We actually held a event earlier in April. Agla, who heads up the DevOps and cloud and site reliability team, she had an event on upscaling site reliability. It's a really good event, but as a whole, this is a great area in terms of an upward trajectory. And what I mean by that is it's not gone boom, but it slowly but surely maintained an upward trajectory. By no means is it where we want it to be or where we expect it to be, but a lot of organizations now are starting to realize that systems need to be built, and there's only so much time that they can delay it for, which is similar to what Simon was saying in the opening as well. So we are starting to see that trickle down now, and we're also seeing the rise of site reliability creep in as well. So there's a lot of companies that are trying to take their DevOps processes to that next level, and I guess scale it so it runs smoothly. And this is where that multi-cloud approach, whether it's Google Cloud, Azure, AWS, is actually more cost effective. That's what organizations are finding at the moment. Again, the challenges here are around the interview processes. It seems to be that what organizations are doing is they're actually going, yeah, we need this resource, going out shopping, and then we get them someone that they like, and then they're like, okay, I just need to double check with this person. It's like the role's not actually approved, but they just want to see if they can get that candidate that kind of tips it.
Tire kicking.
Yeah, we'll call it that, but yeah. But yeah, so that's something to be watching out for when you're seeing roles that are advertised. There is that element of window shopping a little bit to try and actually get that approval as well. Here you can see the key skills in demand in this area, and this is that event that Agla did a very good job on earlier in April as well. Excellent. Moving on to I believe the last section here, it's actually architecture and integration, but I couldn't fit it all on one page, so I separated that out. I would say architecture and integration has seen a significant increase, I would say since October. To be honest with you, that's when we really started to see that bounce back. We know it's a high cost function, and we know that organizations are actually spending in this space now, which means that, touch wood, that the project will filter down, and most likely I would say now in the new financial year, based on the conversations that we're having with clients across the team and myself included. Architecture is in a really strong position, and it's usually one of the first resources that is typically hired when you are about to kick something off or initiate a project. So it's very much around roadmap and strategy at the moment. And like I say, I do think in FY26 is when we'll start to see those projects filter down and obviously plug in the engineers, developers and whatnot. Fingers crossed. I guess what we are seeing is with this space as well, and I think I should probably really flick to integration. So when I say integration, it's more around Boomi, Azure Integration Services, and MuleSoft. We're seeing consultancies actually have a bit of a rival war for talent effectively across those three key skill sets. It's becoming a big focus hiring in those niche skills, and that talent is scarce as well. So it's definitely an area to be watching out for in the future. But again, we're seeing quite a lot of work come through in that space as well. Again, the slow decision making seems to be processes are just, there's no urgency to hire at the moment, we're seeing, which has been echoed through the whole team, the whole technology sector for us as well. We will send this out afterwards, so you can actually have a look at kind of, the salaries and rates. To be honest with you, we've not seen a massive change. If anything, clients are still trying to squeeze down on the rates and salaries where possible, and naturally candidates want to get more where possible. So it's just finding that balance, but it's starting to level out for sure. That's pretty much it, really. I mean, we're already part way through Q4 and April was booming, and we've had a really strong start to May as well. So we're really optimistic that it's going to continue on this trajectory. We just need PMs change and BAs to get on that trajectory, and we'll be in a sweet spot, really, I think.
To summarise, it's been good since October. It's been very good since January. Mr. Trump's caused some concern. If you're a senior person in that program management, project services, change sort of area, you probably haven't, unfortunately, felt the positive effect. But we are, fingers crossed, optimistic that projects will get approved for the next financial year, and we'll get even more momentum that should hopefully filter down into that project services space, and change and transformation and whatnot. We've still got 8 minutes, so if anybody's got any questions, feel free to just drop them in the chat bar. It's quite a small group as well, so if you did want to, if you're confident enough to put your camera on and ask the question directly, you can do that as well, whatever you're comfortable with. But we're here to answer any questions you've got. Give it a second, see if anybody's got anything they want to say. All right, sorry, Nick, maybe just type it in. That's Kira, our marketing manager, sets up this call, so apologies. Next time we'll finish that.
Could have done with a mute button on you, really.
Yeah, apologies about my phone calling. Is there a shortage of PMs in the HCM space? Is there any way we can get upskilled in that area?
So I think with the kind of HCM side of things, I mean, yes, I would say that there still is a shortage there. I find that in my experience, or I should say in Joe's experience, when organizations are reaching out, they're actually reaching out for, I guess, more of a technical consultant or a functional consultant or a UKG test analyst. Yet we've not had that much in the way of project management roles that have come through. Now, I don't know if that's just because they're already in the role, or whether they're just like, yeah, I'm not, to be honest with you, Fiona, I'm not too sure.
Joe's probably the best person to speak to. Joe Foreman, who's in that HCM space for us. So if you, we'll drop you we'll put something in here, we'll put his details, we'll give Joe a call. He's speaking to like 100 people plus a week minimum kind of in that HCM space. So he's very knowledgeable, so he can definitely give you more detail. I think in that AI advisory world, it's a funny one. AI is obviously a lot of noise, but I think there's a little bit of kind of paralysis from analysis, and people are a little bit, especially if you think a lot of the people who are making the decisions around strategies in AI, and I hope you take this in the right way because I'm 48, but they're generally like 50 plus, and they're sat at these boards, and there's an element of fear. So you've got employees who are excited about AI and very much using it for day-to-day life and in work, and then you've got the people who made the decisions who are a little bit kind of fearful. So I think boards are starting to get help and advice, and there's people coming onto boards and they're aware of it. And I'm not seeing that filter through. We're starting to place some people in AI roles, but I think there's a lot of kind of AI noise out there and opportunity, but people kind of like not making transformations to becoming fully AI integrated just yet. I think there's individuals and pockets in businesses where they're using AI really well, and there's others where it's just like frozen with fear. But we're not seeing strategies across businesses around AI come through, because I think it's just changing so quickly, and we're seeing it ourselves in our business. Whether it's like note taking on calls like this, that type of stuff. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Venkat, around the HRIS, SME, Oracle, HCM space, mainly what we've seen there is around consultancies, and they've reached out around those skills that you're referring to there around the SMEs. And the challenge we experienced is that they're very particular around where those resources need to be based. For example, in Adelaide or Brisbane, it's just been very challenging to actually get that talent. So with some of the consultancies, what they're doing at the moment is a war, I guess, on price. That everyone's been driven down on price, and they're feeling it as well. So with that area around the SMEs, I just think it's just delayed slightly. That's what I would say at the moment. Like BAs and PMs are typically easier to come by than the SMEs, for sure. What that looks like in the future, we'll have to see what happens.
Again, Joe would be a really good person to speak to about that. Nick, I think my answer maybe answered that question that you've got, but basically we're not seeing any sort of change management within AI at all, I would say. Not yet. That's not filtering through. Appeal across those markets in the new financial year, like I think Craig mentioned, like banking and finance is kicking off already, insurance.
Government will follow. Utilities is in a strong place at the moment. I think you'd like to hope that retail will bounce back as well.
Retail's at a kicking, yeah.
It's been quite a tough spot at the moment. Financial services and banking's, it's been solid.
That question there, Niv, around MuleSoft and integration engineers, that's definitely a great question for Chris Lane and Agla. I can't even see Agla's surname, but it's a long surname. But if you reach out to Agla or Chris Lane, we'll put their details in. They can certainly give you more information around that.
I'll just share this with you so you can make a note of that as well. You've got Joe there for all things HCM, Chris, all things engineering and architecture, and then Agla as well around that DevOps side.
But if you've got any questions you want to speak to us about, reach out. Just got another minute there. I think Niv's typing. All good. All right. That's 30 minutes just about. Thank you for joining us. And see you in 3 months when hopefully we're full of even more positive news, especially for more senior people in that change kind of project services space as well, because it's been a long time coming.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.